Hey everyone, it's Norm here from International Motor Cars. Welcome back to our showroom. Today, I've pulled this beautiful 2010 Lotus Evora outside. The weather has finally improved and it's been pretty nice out. So I'm gonna drive this car for the next couple days, get to know it a little better, and I'm gonna do a video for you on the 5 things I love and the 5 things I hate about the Lotus Evora. So, with that said, let's climb on board. Start this car up, and we'll go for a drive. Before we get into driving and reviewing this car, let me tell you a little bit more about it. This particular example is a 2010 Lotus Evora with just over 18,000 kilometers on it. It's a 2-owner car that's been fully 3M from day one and is in absolutely immaculate condition. All books, keys, and service records are present with the vehicle. The car truly shows like brand new, inside and out. These Lotus Evoras are extremely difficult to find, let alone in condition like this. We have the car priced at $61,888 plus tax, and I'll put a link in the description of this video so you guys can check it out.
Cause I like to be myself. If you're not agree, you can walk away. You can walk away. You can walk away. Something in my mind leaves me then, I ain't nobody perfect. Something in my mind leaves me then, I ain't nobody perfect.
I've been driving this Evora for a couple days here. I've had a little bit more experience of some of the things I like and don't like about it. And for starters, the first thing I like is actually how understated the car is. When you're used to driving exotic cars like Ferraris and Lamborghinis and whatnot, you almost get used to the attention. And for anyone that does drive exotic cars, you know the attention actually it gets overwhelming. It's too much. People annoy you, people follow you, people chase you, they drive like idiots around you. And the nice thing about this car, even though it is an exotic car and it's a very bland color, being silver, is that the car really blends in. People don't notice you too much. They don't chase you down like you're in a bright Lamborghini or Ferrari. So in this case, I actually think that's a positive, because it kind of gets old and overbearing on some other exotic cars. So reason number one, and I'd say most important, is that this car blends in and you can just go to the grocery store and get left alone. Other than this guy, he's waving at me right now in the Tesla, so some people notice you. The second thing I love about the Lotus Evora is the reliability of the powertrain. This car has the 3.5 liter V6, commonly used in several different Toyota models. The Camry, the Venza, the Highlander, a couple others. So you can imagine that, you know, look at Toyota reliability, you'll see those cars with 2, 3, 400,000, even 500,000 kilometers on the motors, with relatively, you know, beyond normal maintenance, not a lot of problems, no real issues. So when you take that power plant and put it into a car like this, it gives a lot of peace of mind with long-term reliability of this of the powertrain. And again, there's very little proprietary diagnostics when it comes to you know, taking this car to a Lotus dealer for servicing. Really, anyone can service it, which makes it relatively, again, easy to afford as an end user. I would imagine that a lot of people that own these actually probably do their own servicing, and with that, you know, long-term reliability and cost of ownership would be second reason why I love the Lotus Evora. 3,400, I think the exact number was 3,469 units of the Evora built from 2010 to 2015, which was the last year of this generation. And when you compare that to over 14,000 Gallardos that were built over the course of its lifespan, and over 20,000 458s as an example, you can see that this car is very unique. If you go out to a local car meet or Cars and Coffee, it's going to be littered with Ferraris and Lamborghinis and nice Porsches, but it's very likely that you'll have probably the only Lotus there. They are very unique cars. There's very little of them for sale. I believe at the moment in Canada there's only 4 or 5 Evoras for sale, whereas again, if you compare to Gallardos, there's probably 70 or 80, and Ferraris from 430s and 458s, there's well over 100 for sale on Auto Trader. So it is a very unique vehicle that you're not going to see probably another one out while you're out on a nice drive. So for that, reason number 3 is quite simply the uniqueness of the vehicle. Reason number 4 why I love the Lotus Evora really ties in well with reason number 3 being the uniqueness. Generally, when it comes to buying unique vehicles, that would be associated with a high price tag, which in this car is I would say the exact opposite. The Lotus Evora is absolutely an incredible value for the performance, the quality, and the uniqueness of the vehicle. A really nice example such as this one can be bought again in that 60 range, higher mileage ones, or maybe cars with accidents closer to $50,000 Canadian, which again, when you factor in a unique performance car such as this that is fun to drive and exhilarating, as you can see, that's a hard thing to find. I mean, 60 grand is like the price of a new minivan, a Toyota minivan or a Honda minivan, or a Ford Explorer. I mean, it's hard to buy a car for 60 grand today. So reason number 4 why I love the Lotus Evora is the value for what you're actually getting for the money. Now with that, I will touch, this car is available in a couple different variants, such as an Evora S, which is the same same 3.5 V6 motor, but with a supercharger on it that creates an additional 80 horsepower, so it takes it from 285 to 365. Those cars will, factor in 10 grand of additional expense. So I mean, a rough one will be in the 60 range, whereas a really nice, clean, low mileage example will be in the 70 range. And then finally, they've got the new Evora. This came out in 2017, the Evora 400 or 410, which those, I've never driven one. I can only imagine that they're an absolute rocket. And those vehicles, I'm going to say are, I think if you're finding a cheap one, it'd be around 100 grand for, something that's actually been driven. And, I mean, a low K1 is still probably 110 to 120, as I believe that car MSRP was around 140 to 150, depending on options. So the new ones, it's a different value equation buying a new one, because at 150 grand, well, there's a lot of choices for 150 grand that are maybe better suited to whatever you're after, whether it's performance or uniqueness or whatnot. But talking about this car in the low 60 range, reason number 4 why I love it is the value for the money you get. Alright, finally, reason number 5 why I love the Lotus Evora. Now this may seem silly on the surface, but I actually love that this is a low horsepower, rather underwhelming car when it comes to the performance numbers. Now, the reason why I say that, if you take this car, a Lotus Evora, 285 horsepower, and you drive it at the absolute limit, it's a very fun, very exhilarating car that you can have more fun in driving hard. As compared to this is an 800 horsepower, supercharged Gallardo. This car, you barely need to touch the throttle in and you're doing 100 kilometers an hour or higher. Yes, very fun, very fast, overwhelming car when it comes to the performance numbers. But think about it. It's actually a scary car to drive, both, you know, for obeying speed limits and for, you know, pure safety. Like, this car, you floor it, you could lose control very easily. And, you know, it's almost puts a little bit of fear into you when driving, as opposed to this. I think the saying goes something along the lines of, it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. So it seems silly on the surface, but when you've driven cars like both these, the Lotus Evora definitely is more fun because it's a low horsepower, underwhelming car that you can push harder and not have to worry about obeying speed limits and driving safely. So with that, that's my 5th reason why I love the Lotus Evora. Let's talk about some of the things I don't like about the car. Alright, so I've been driving the Lotus Evora here for 3 or 4 days now, and I've legitimately been looking for reasons why I don't like the car. Initially, when you get in and drive it, it's a car that you very much like, and there's a lot to like about it. So I actually struggled to find something or a few things that I don't like about it. But after a few days of driving, I was able to come up with 2 things I personally don't like, and a 3rd honorable mention that doesn't really affect me, but is an important factor to consider if maybe you're a little bit older or a little bit of a bigger guy than me. The first thing is getting in and getting out of the car. It's obviously a very tight, very compact vehicle, and you know, if you're older and maybe you have you know, a bad back or bad knees or legs, or you're just a bigger guy, whether it's tall or you've got, you know, a little bit of extra weight on you, it is or can be a little bit of a challenge getting in and getting out of the car. I've put a video here that you can see me getting in the car. So the first thing that I actually noticed that I didn't like about the car is on the passenger side, when you do shoulder check for changing lanes, the car does have a very, very, very bad blind spot. Nothing that, you know, you can't take your time and be cautious about ensuring there's nothing there. But as I'm showing you here, there's a car directly in my blind spot, and you can't see it at all. It's not my mirror, and it's just a bad blind spot in the car, particularly on the passenger side when you're changing lanes. And secondly, things that I don't really like about the Lotus Evora, there's not a lot of aftermarket support in terms of you know, tuning companies or aftermarket suppliers. I personally like modified cars. I know a lot of people that own and drive these probably don't, but you know, if this is a car that you wanted to tune or you know, supercharge or change the exhaust or change an air filter or something along those lines, even do you know, cosmetic body modifications. Some people like spoilers and ground effects. There's very, very, very little aftermarket support, and I think that's partly due to 2 things. First off, you know, it's a car that probably a lot of people don't modify. They keep them bone stock, and that's the way they like them, and I mean, that's quite all right. And secondly, with the low production numbers, like I said, 3,469 of these built, you know, significantly less at leases and exeges and models like that, it doesn't appeal to, you know, a car where there might be 20,000 of them or 100,000 out there on the road for people to actually go and modify. Now, with that said, it's not as if there's none. This particular car does have a, I believe it's top speed titanium exhaust. We do have the factory exhaust for anyone who is interested in the car, but you know, there is some aftermarket support, but not a lot. You know, with that said, those are really the 2 big things that I've found after spending a couple days in this car that I don't like. But I mean, overall, there's a lot more things I do like about the car. I mean, it's a great value, and for anyone considering a sports car in this price range, you should definitely consider a Lotus Evora. And with that said, like I said, there's a link in the description of the video below to check this car out. If you guys have any comments or questions, let me know. And if there's anything else you want to see with this car, let me know and I'll make it happen for you guys.
We'll be right back.